Hi, my name is Ryan Wilson, and I am the designer of Archdruid, a competitive tabletop game for 2 to 4 players.
Archdruid is a game about siphoning magic from fae and demon creatures, taming those creatures, and using them to gain the Earth Mother's favor, racing your friends to become the next Archdruid. Players will take turns moving around this grid of cards, siphoning magic off of the cards, and collecting cards along the way. The first player to get 10 minus the number of player points wins the game.
Archdruid takes about 5 minutes to set up, 10 minutes to teach, and about an hour to play for new players.
The first major mechanic in the game is a spatial puzzle element using the grid on the bottom left-hand side of these cards. Each card can be used to either siphon or move with the same grid. The X represents where the player's character token is on this grid, and then the numbers represent how much magic they can siphon from those cards. So for example, green can siphon here, 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 and here to collect magic. Or if they play this card to move, they can move 1, 2, 3, 4, and collect all of the cards that have no magic on them along the way. Archdruid is also a hand-building game. As players collect cards into their hands, they will gain more options and more power as the game goes on. As players play cards on their turn, they won't be able to play those cards again until they recover them back into their hand. Each card has a special recover requirement, something that must be done in order to pick the card back up into their hand and use again. You can recover as many cards as you like on your turn, so building up a tableau of options allows players to have flexibility in the way they play. I could jump to a space adjacent to an opponent, collecting this card because it has no magic on it. I could use that card to play and siphon magic off of the board. And then I could move one space to collect the other card on my turn. These spaces fill in with new cards, and we continue playing. Players feel really clever using the grids in combination with the recover abilities to build up their engine of options and then ultimately score points. But points aren't just points in Archdruid. There are 3 different ways to get points. The first of which is to banish bosses. There's always a boss on the board, and they have special siphon text that tells you what happens if you were to siphon from that space. Plus, because there's only one boss on the board at any time, players must fight over that space in order to actually turn it in for points. You can also grow druidic groves. If you're on an empty space and turn in a bunch of fey magic, you can place one of your own character groves on that empty space. This protects you from being moved, counts as infinite amount of fey magic if you were to siphon from that space, and blanks that space out for all of your opponents, adding a little bit of area control element to the game. And then there's Gaia's Favor. These are only single point cards, but they're gained through the recover ability of certain creature cards. That allows the players to play as part of combination in addition to working towards the bigger goals. The game features heavy player interaction, where players cannot move into or through the space of the other players. In addition, they can siphon magic from each other if they are unprotected. There are different ways to protect yourself in the game, so being in a good position relative to your opponents is just as important as getting the right cards for your engine.
Archdruid is aimed at the mid to hardcore tabletop crowd. It might be easy to get going, but those who are able to parse out the best options will come out ahead. It has tactical decisions each turn, longer-term strategy through hand management, and both direct and indirect player interaction, keeping the competition fierce but friendly.
Thank you very much for considering Archdruid.